Every mass extinction in the history of life on Earth follows a highly predictable pattern. A species disappears from the fossil record, scientists declare it extinct, and then the ocean reveals it has no obligation to follow a human schedule. The coelacanth was believed extinct for 65 million years, until a fisherman pulled one alive from the Indian Ocean in 1938. Science has never claimed to know everything that lives in the water. Below the twilight zone, 95% of the deep ocean floor remains entirely unexplored by human technology. The question is no longer whether a prehistoric apex predator could have survived in those depths. The question is what happens to the surface world the day it decides to ascend. To understand the threat, we have to look past the movie version and study the biological reality of Otitis megalodon, as understood by paleontologists. Fossil records place the largest individuals at roughly 65 feet, 3 times a great white and larger than a school bus. Furthermore, jaw modeling reveals a 40,000 psi bite force, a level of destruction modern engineering cannot replicate. These 7-inch serrated teeth were designed to shear through bone, cartilage, and flesh simultaneously in a single movement. At this scale, hunting is not a process of wounding or disabling. An animal of this specification ends a life the size of a whale as casually as a human eats a sandwich. The first consequence of the megalodon's ascent happens entirely underwater, where the great white shark currently sits at the top of the food chain. Displacing an apex predator shifts the entire food chain. Satellite data shows great whites abandon territory when a superior threat enters. Without them, seal populations explode, decimating fish stocks. This causes a regional collapse for the dolphins, seabirds, and larger mammals depending on them. Because identifying these patterns requires weeks of data collection and verification, the megalodon would likely be hunting in its new territory for over a month before marine biologists even identified the cause of the ecological shift. This geographic ascent is driven by food. The predator follows the migratory paths of its primary prey, large marine mammals. Fossil clustering at the Calvert Cliffs shows the megalodon favored shallow coastal regions as nursery grounds. Following its ancient prey today would lead the massive animal directly into the coastlines now packed with human activity. It would arrive with deep ocean scarcity programming. Millions of years in a food-starved abyss conditions an animal to seize every caloric opportunity immediately. To an animal conditioned by deep-sea scarcity, a commercial fishing vessel at the surface registers as a high-value opportunity. This is a matter of simple mathematics. A jaw radius of 10 feet is physically capable of enveloping a small boat, meaning an interaction is not an investigative bite, it is a consumption event. Because the force of the strike would be total and the vessel destroyed, these encounters would leave no survivors to file an incident report. The first confirmed sighting would create a permanent shift in how humanity views the ocean. Beach tourism and the coastal economies that depend on it would face an immediate crisis, as the safety of shallow water could no longer be guaranteed by any government policy. Commercial fishing operations would face massive insurance spikes, while coastal real estate markets would be forced to reconcile with a coastline that is no longer recreational. Our current wildlife management tools are designed for animals a fraction of this size. There is no technology currently in use by marine biologists that can fence, relocate, or manage a 60-foot prehistoric predator. A confirmed presence would restructure our relationship with the world's oceans in ways that no amount of scientific reassurance could undo. We know the megalodon was real, and we know that we are still discovering large, distinct species in the 95% of the ocean that remains unexplored. Modern data reveals that satellite-tagged great whites are already displaying unexplained behavioral changes, including sudden, vertical dives into deep trenches that marine biology cannot yet account for. In an ocean that covers most of our planet, the only intellectually honest answer regarding the megalodon's survival is that we do not know, and we will not know until the day the ocean decides to answer the question for us. By then, it will be too late to prepare.